Hey, y'all. Today I have Dr. Carrie Mackensen. Dr. Carrie is the total package. I know this because upon our first meeting, I was blown away with her infectious spirit and clear intelligence. Dr. Carrie Mackensen, affectionately called Dr. Carrie by her clients, though her favorite title is Mom, is a clinical psychologist turned parent coach who combines professional expertise with real-world solutions to help families thrive. With a PhD in individual, family, and child psychology and over 25 years of experience from K-12 schools as an attending psychologist at Cedars-Sinai Hospital to serving as clinical director of high-end residential treatment programs for addiction and eating disorders and in private practice in Beverly Hills and Manhattan Beach, she founded Successful Parent with one simple truth in mind: kids don't come with operating manuals, and parents deserve to know all she learned through her doctoral education, clinical experience. She and her husband have two incredible boys that keep her as strong as all three of them combined, and one of them is a Navy SEAL. On top of being brilliant, she can hike the hills of Palos Verdes with a weighted vest and hold a conversation like she's getting her nails done because I witnessed it. And her in-depth knowledge around parenting in the digital age is priceless for caretakers everywhere. She holds certifications in reflective parenting, mindful parenting, and mindfulness meditation, as well as expertise in attachment theory and interpersonal neurobiology. Get ready to be blown away. She is the total package. Please welcome my badass friend, Dr. Carrie Mackensen.
Oh, Nicole, I do not deserve that love letter. My goodness.
Stop it.
You build me too high.
Nope. I only tell the truth.
That was really sweet of you. I genuinely appreciate that. And I can only return the accolades. I think you're just one of the most magnificent human beings to walk this planet. And I adore you.
Wow. Okay. Well, thanks. Now that we're both gushing and wearing our cream sweaters like we planned it.
Yes, we are.
We did not plan it, but
no,
proud of us.
Great minds think alike.
Girl.
But then again, so do mediocre ones. So
oh, no. Wait, well, I haven't never heard that expression.
It's true.
So true. Oh, well, on that note, first of all, we were on that hike, I don't know how many months ago, and all I could remember thinking was, I wish we were recording this because it was pre us discussing this podcast and what have you. And I just kept thinking, every single woman in my parenting circle and beyond needs to hear what you have to say. So we're going to drop this umbrella question on you, which I know you can handle. But how do we as parents protect our kids' brain development and mental health when screens are everywhere? They've got Chromebooks in classrooms. We're on our devices. Like, what do we do? Where do we begin?
Like, it's a daunting task, right? Because we live in a digital world. And so I think where I would want to start is, first and foremost, I want to preemptively say some parents might have a hard time hearing this message. There's something called parent guilt and parent shame, and we can beat ourselves up. And so I think the first thing we need to do is give ourselves a little grace.
Okay.
Right? I truly believe every parent does the best they can with the information and the ability they have at the time. So let's just set that aside, because there's no such thing as a perfect parent.
Yes.
I have a PhD. I've studied clinical psychology and childhood development for 25 years, and I screw up.
Yeah.
We're human beings. Yeah. So let's start there.
Okay.
Take a breath, take a step back, and say, you know what? We all make mistakes. But here's where the hope lies. We can make changes. And that starts today. And how we start making changes is first to understand, what are these screens doing to our children's brains? Because that's something a lot of parents just don't fully know. So I would start there.
Okay.
Then I would get into the different boundaries we can set as parents in order to protect our kids' brains and development and mental health, because that really is our job as parents.
Yeah. So I asked that question having just had my son and his friend over here in my house, where I walked past the bedroom and there's one screen of video games on, one child's on some device on the ground, and my child's playing the guitar, but watching someone else play a video game. And I was like, oh my God, I'm about to get on this call with Dr. Carrie. And I'm like knee deep in it. I'm like, at least he had an instrument in his hand.
Well, I was going to say, he's playing a guitar. That is amazing, right? He's developing a talent and a skill set and he's growing a part of his brain that will help him as he progresses through life.
Okay. Well, we've got
Let's focus on the positive,
okay.
right?
Yes.
Yes.
That's a positive. But prior to hitting record, I accosted you because I remember on our hike, you were telling me about the power of these technology companies and how they kind of wield it to their advantage, obviously, as does any, major business. You used the word, and I remember it was attention engineer, that these
Correct.
companies hire these people to be experts in gathering our attention. Yeah.
To exploit our brain and our children's brain. So yes, if you can imagine the tech nerd in Silicon Valley wearing his hoodie, he is creating these algorithms that are gluing your children's eyeballs to a screen. You don't have bad kids. Your son's playing guitar, but of course he's watching a screen.
Yeah.
And of course his friend is on a device.
Yeah.
They're not bad kids.
No.
They're really smart tech nerd attention engineers in Silicon Valley who are far more intelligent than me, and they're really good at what they do.
Mm.
And so they are building these platforms and the software in order to keep our kids glued. Not your fault.
No.
But there is something we can do about it.
Okay. What?
I think what's important for parents to understand is you can look around. You can look around and you can see the child in a restaurant on a screen, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can see the kids walking down the sidewalk doing this instead of paying attention to where they're going. Everyone can see that there's been a cultural shift.
Yeah.
And I do think it is at epidemic levels.
Oh, yeah.
And these screens are doing more harm than they're doing good. Now, that doesn't mean they're all bad, right? I mean, they are convenient.
Yeah.
And entertainment is great. There is a distinct difference between the impact it has on our brain as adults, because our brains are fully developed.
Right.
Whereas our children are especially susceptible to these devices and these platforms because their brain is under construction.
Mm.
It's being built.
Yeah.
And we now have MRI brain studies that show concretely the impact of screens on our children's brain.
I'm so scared to ask.
Should we?
Yeah, we should talk about it.
Should we go there?
Yeah, everybody buckle up, okay?
This is important for parents to understand because it concretizes things, right? You can't argue with the science.
No.
All right. So there are longitudinal studies, meaning a long study. The one I'm going to quote, the Adolescent Brain ABCD, Adolescent Brain Cognitive Development Study.
Oh, wow.
It is a decade-long study of nearly 12,000 children. They started following them at age 9 until 19. And they did periodic MRI brain scans to look at the impact of different things on our brain development. And one of the areas they looked at was the impact of screens. And here's what they saw. At just 2 hours a day, when a child was using screens at 2 hours a day or more, they started to see significant structural changes in the brain. What does that mean? It means the part of the brain that you want to develop in your child, and I'll get into that in a little bit, the area we work so hard as parents in order to raise competent, capable, resilient, kind, wonderful human beings who are going to provide value to society. That part of the brain is not only understimulated, it's underdeveloped. It's noticeably smaller as compared to kids who are not on screens as much. And the more screen time your child has, the more damaging those effects.
Great. That's great. You just need to take a big breath.
We can always make changes.
We can always make changes.
Here's the good thing. I see your face. There's something called neuroplasticity.
Yes.
And what that means is our brain is moldable.
Right.
So just as the attention engineer in Silicon Valley with his algorithms is shaping your child's brain in a way that doesn't align with your family values, and those TikTok influencers are shaping your child's brain. We can start to make changes and shape our child's brain and form stronger connections to help them spend time off the screens, to be more present in real life, and develop the talents and the skills that are going to serve them to become a successful adult.
Yeah. I love this. And I do have to say one time, I mean, this is not in defense of screens. I guess it's in defense of the guy in the hoodie with the algorithm. One time we were driving probably to some practice of some sort. And I remember Bo looks over at me and he's like, you know what I really want to do? And I was like, what? I was so excited. He's like, I want to open a high yield savings account. I said,
oh boy,
scare. I was like, first of all,
where did you get this information?
Where did you hear that? He's like, well, I follow this YouTube creator who's all about he's like all about improving your life. And so he was talking about ways that you can start young. He's like, if I start saving right now, and I'm like, oh my God. So that's 1 point for the guy in the hoodie. Yeah. In Silicon Valley. But the other big worry I have is, and I feel like this is transitional, especially because my child is now 12 and his personality is changing and moving into middle school. So any parent that's been through that transition can probably relate. Yours are a little bit younger than that, right? Your boys?
They're soon to be 12 and soon to be 10.
Okay.
2 boys.
So I felt like this started happening around 11, where he became, again, developmental for sure. Because again, my child's 6 feet tall, looks like he's 17. Still had the brains of an 11-year-old. But there was a distinct shift in his personality. And there wasn't more screen time per se, but there was, developmentally speaking, I'm like, oh my gosh. So all flags are up. And I'm like, is this an okay headspace? Like, is this developmental, or is this parlaying from the tragedies he's experienced? My point being, when they're moving into preteen and teens, I feel like they're extra sensitive. Their brains are extra sensitive to this sort of thing visually. Yeah, that's what I feared.
Here's one thing I love about you. You are so aware and you're spot on. Let me tell you a little bit about how our brain develops. So it develops from the back to the front. First, the cerebellum. That's the area where they learn to use their hands, to crawl, to walk, swallowing, motor activities, right?
Right.
Then as you approach puberty, pre-adolescence, early adolescence, your limbic system starts to develop. Well, what is this limbic system? Well, the limbic system is this big emotional hub of the brain, which is why often around this time, parents start to see their kids having these big mood swings up and down. Now, of course, hormones come into play as well. But it's this limbic system that's being overstimulated by screens. And this is what is important for parents to understand. So the limbic system, this emotional hub, is also the reward center of our brain. This is where dopamine gives us those big bursts of feel-good feelings. Now, dopamine is not inherently bad. We'll get more to dopamine. But this reward center also becomes the addiction pathway for the brain. Yeah. And so I want to say it's really important for parents to understand if there's any family history of addiction or mental health disorders, they need to listen, because these screens are strengthening this part of the brain. So children are not only getting addicted to screens now, they are getting primed to be more likely to get addicted to other vices later in life. This isn't just a now problem. This is a rest of your life consideration. So again, dopamine, not all bad. We need dopamine.
Right.
Dopamine, when you and I went on that hike and we're out in nature, we're getting a hit of dopamine. It feels good. My boys are off riding scooters with friends. They're getting a hit of dopamine. When you have a great conversation with a friend, dopamine. You talk with your kid, hug, dopamine. Dopamine encourages us to do things that are good for us.
Yeah.
But here's what screens do. They flood your child's brain with an inordinate amount, an unhealthy amount of dopamine, similar to cocaine. Yes, screen use has a similar effect on your child's brain as cocaine. And you wonder why they're bouncing off the walls, right?
Right. Correct.
It starts to make sense.
Yeah.
But it's not just in that moment. Screen use raises the dopamine baseline because it floods it with so much. What does that mean? Things your kid used to enjoy, doing Legos, riding bike, playing guitar, no longer makes them feel good.
Yeah.
The only thing that gives them that feel good hit is a screen. And so when they're on the screen, they've got that buzzy feeling. They can't stop. It's like when we scroll on Instagram or whatever platform you're on, you get that buzzy feeling and it just kind of keeps going. But then you get off the screen. Your parent says screen time is over. And then the kids crash because when dopamine goes high, it falls hard. And you have almost what appears to be a withdrawal effect. Kids become whiny. They kind of start to come undone. They get argumentative with their parent. The craving builds. Only thing that feels good is to get on a screen. So they get back on a screen and rinse and repeat. Screens are strengthening this limbic system.
Mm.
That's why kids are getting addicted. They're not bad kids and you're not a bad parent. Those attention engineers know they're flooding your kid's brain with dopamine.
I worry about our future. I mean, what are your thoughts? Like, do you feel as though we have a good handle on this? The education is one thing. Like what you're doing, it's basically God's work at this time because it's so widely accepted. Just like you said, like there is one thing that truly disturbs me is when I see kids on devices in restaurants, and I'm not judging anyone, but I try so hard, and I have ever since Bo was little, to engage him in the conversation, even as hard as that may be at a restaurant. I feel like the one place that I know that I can look eye to eye with him and that he could potentially be making those dopamine connections minus the screen.
Yeah.
I feel like someone should come up with a phone-free restaurant.
Amazing.
We should do that in the South.
I love it. Well, anytime we have something between us, there is a lack of connection. But here's the impact it has on our kids. What the brain does is what the brain becomes. So you looking eye to eye with Bo and having a conversation, you're developing his social skills. You're providing a blueprint for how you connect in a relationship. Now, from age 0 to 5 is the most rapid brain development for any human being, right?
Yeah.
The neural activity, the neural growth. So what children do from 0 to 5 is going to most influence their personality, how they cope with stress, how they show up in relationships, and how they interact with the world. Relative to that, it's going to slow down a little bit from age 6 until about puberty.
Okay.
And then once they're prepubescent and they go through puberty, it is another drastic period of brain development, similar to that 0 to 5.
Yeah.
But what happens during this time is pruning. So things that they aren't using, the brain just says, we don't need that. We're going to prune that away.
Yep.
So the more time your kids spend on screens, if you were to let him be on his phone in the restaurant, he's going to start losing those abilities to have really good conversation.
Oh, wow.
So that's why it's really important that we say no to screens. We take the hit.
Yeah.
And we just say, we're going to find something else to do. And you know what? Kids do find something else to do.
We
Right?
have to give them the option, though. That's the other thing. We do have to take the
stand
hit.
firm.
Yes.
We have to take the hit. Listen, we're not here to be their friend.
I know.
We can be friendly and have fun with them, right? Listen, parenting is not easy.
Oh
It
my
is
God.
not for the faint of heart.
Girl, no.
Because never before have you cared this much
Right.
or felt this responsible.
Right. I also was called, I'm pretty sure, he has called me a warden before. I've mentioned that on this show.
Well
Today
done,
I was
Mom.
called something else. It wasn't a warden, but it was of the same quality.
Same nature.
I was like, seriously?
Yeah. That means you're doing a good job.
My God.
And you're helping him develop the most important part of his brain. The part of our brain that makes us most human is this, where I keep touching here, the prefrontal cortex.
Yes.
Now, we talked about this emotional center that brains are being hyperstimulated on screens, and it's growing this part of the brain as a result. That's why you see these big emotional outbursts in kids. But simultaneously, when children are engaged with an interactive screen, let's put a pin in that, come back to that word interactive screen, because all screens are not created equal. Okay. When they're engaged with an interactive screen, the part of the brain you want to develop in your child shuts down. And as a result of screen use, this part of the brain is what we see in those MRI brain studies, is becoming not active and underdeveloped, atrophy smaller. Okay, so what does this part of the brain do? We call it the executive function, executive center of the brain. This part of the brain is where your children have the ability to control their impulses. Impulse control, attention, and focus. Let's put another pin in ADHD and what we now are calling acquired ADHD. This part of the brain leads to good decision making. It allows our kids to consider consequences. It's the personality control center of the brain. This part of the brain is where they have the ability to regulate their emotions. Screens stimulate the limbic center, big emotions. Simultaneously, they're shutting down the part of the brain that regulates those big emotions. Prefrontal cortex allows your children to think about other people. It's where our social and moral reasoning come from. Problem-solving planet. You get the point. All the things you want to develop in your children, right? Screens are shutting those down. So it's really important for us as parents to explain this to our children because they think, God, Warden, what's the big deal?
Where's mom at?
You're so boring.
I know.
Why do you have to be such a buzzkill? It's just a video game. No big deal, Mom.
So it's just, were you in my house just 20 minutes ago?
I have kids too, and I work with a lot of families.
God. Well, I know on our hike you had mentioned, because I said my son will sometimes FaceTime with his classmates, and you said
that's great.
That's good. So maybe that's, is that an interactive screen versus, or I guess that's still interactive.
Well, that's a face. That's like what we're doing here, right? Now, is it better to be in person? Did I enjoy being in your amazing presence with the energy that comes off you? That's like a warm hug. Of course. Do I still feel it some on the screen? Yes, not as much. Little kids FaceTiming with grandma who lives in another state. There's nothing wrong with that.
Okay, cool.
There's a distinction between also passive screen use, like watching TV on the wall, a TV on the wall that is not portable and you're not carrying around and you're not controlling it with your thumbs. TV has been around for decades. We didn't see these detrimental effects to brain development. And then we also should touch on the impact it's having on our mental health, our teens' mental health, depression, anxiety. We didn't see that with TV. Similarly, when your children use a computer for school, they're not getting addicted to Google Docs or to an Excel spreadsheet, right?
That's funny. No, you're right. It'd be amazing if my son was addicted to Excel, because I can't even figure out that's a whole other.
Well, he might put in those high yield investments.
Oh, it's high yield savings. That's absolutely right.
Yeah. So it really is, the toxic screens are the interactive screens. So think smartphone. Where they're doing this. Think video games. Where they're doing this. iPads, tablets, where they're swiping. Even the smartwatch. Right? Those are interactive screens, and those are what are causing the most damage. So it's not to say you have to go completely screen free. Okay. A, we live in a digital world. B, there's a lot of benefits. And we can differentiate between tech as a tool and tech as a toy or a distractor. Right? I mean, because it really is becoming an experience blocker of life. As kids go out and go to a park together, or they're walking around the shopping center together, If they have a screen, they all inevitably end up on their screens.
Yes.
It's blocking those really important experiences that build these healthy networks of the brain.
Right.
So it's important to explain that to them. If you listen to this podcast and you go in your home, you say, that's it. We're taking the video games out. We're taking the screens out. We're not doing this anymore. Okay, don't.
Yeah, seriously.
Don't do that.
Don't come for Dr. Carrie, okay?
That is a bad idea, right? That's going to cause another trauma response.
For real.
We want to start with conversations. It sounds something like this. Hey, Bo, I know you love your video games and watching people play video games on YouTube and YouTube shorts and all these things, and it's not all bad. But I recently learned some new stuff. Let me tell you what it's doing to your brain. There's this big emotional center of your brain that gets you addicted to things, and screens are growing that part of your brain. And then the part of your brain that allows you to keep attention and focus, to make good decisions, to be a good friend and a good human being, that's getting smaller because of screens. So we really need to limit the screen time.
Yeah.
Let's have a conversation and let's create a game plan together. What might this look like for our family?
Yeah. I love that. I'm going to keep you posted on his response. It's going to be creative. I can tell you that. It might be colorful. And then I'm going to come back to you for more advice.
Happy to give it. Love that kid.
Oh,
but in addition to the brain development, let's talk about mental health.
Yeah, let's do it.
I think we put a pin in that one too.
We did.
Here's how we know these interactive screens are so detrimental to our children. Depression. Since 2010, rates of depression in girls have increased 135%. But wait, in boys, 161%. This is just since 2010. Anxiety in boys and girls, over 160% increase since 2010. Cutting, self-harm, according to emergency room data, a lot of kids who cut, I worked with a lot of them in my private practice, they don't go to the emergency room. Self-harm in girls has increased 311% just since 2010. And in boys, 171%. And then every parent's worst nightmare, suicide, the rates in children aged 10 to 14 in boys has increased 67%. And in girls, over 117%. Something's going really wrong here.
Really wrong.
This is a wake-up call to us parents. This isn't child's play. It is life or death. So why all these changes since 2010?
Because the screens are smart? Like more interactive?
When you look back at this data, we've had this for collecting data on mental health, statistics on adolescents for decades, back to the 50s. And the rates remain relatively stable. There's little blips up, little blips down, but nothing like these hockey stick-shaped graphs that we see since 2010. Zoop. Well, in 2007, the iPhone came out. In 2010, the front-facing camera and Instagram. In 2011, Snapchat. 2018, TikTok. 2020, Instagram Reels and Shorts, YouTube Shorts, TikTok Shorts. The shorts are the junkiest of it all for brain development. And it's not just in the United States. This is across the globe. Anywhere where they have these advanced technologies, we're seeing this frightening rise in mental health issues in our youth. We don't see it as much in adults. Why? brain development.
Yeah.
Again, it goes back to the brain is under construction. And so
Right.
this is such a pivotal period for us parents to protect, get them off these screens, limit screen time, and get them engaged in real life activities. It really is that simple, easier said than done,
Yeah.
and 100% possible.
Yeah. I think about like there's just such a shift because of people being able to work from home now. I feel, yes, that's a benefit. That's been fabulous. But at the same time, so much of the work from home necessity is being available for a screen, a phone call, a FaceTime, handling your quote unquote business, or in my instance,
Right.
working out over a screen. But I'm wondering, what are the alternatives that you use, or maybe even that you suggest to your patients and whatnot, for not using screens for these kids? Like, what can they do? I mean, I know that you're probably gonna be like, oh, Legos or go outside, but I'm just curious if there's anything else that's mind boggling that I didn't think of.
It starts with something really simple, which is we start modeling it.
Okay.
Right. So there's again a difference though between tech as a tool and tech as a toy or distractor.
Right.
So let's start again with conversations. Talk with your child. I have to film my workout because this is how I support us.
Yes.
On the screen.
Yes.
That is different and distinct from son sitting on the couch on the iPad, mom sitting there scrolling Instagram.
Right.
That's modeling, this is what we do, and the implied message is, this is okay.
Yeah.
So we start explaining it's not okay. And parents have to take responsibility and say, I've been on my phone too much because it's addicting to me too.
Yep.
And I'm really going to make an effort to get off because I learned all the ways that it impacts our brains.
Yeah.
Right. And so here are some things that families can do. First, you start with a conversation.
Yeah.
And then you want to just set a basic framework. And
okay.
There isn't just one way to do it, but here's some ideas, and then you can shift and shape it to do what works best for your family. But one thing you can do is go screen free during the school week, Monday through Thursday. We're not doing TV. You can have your laptop for homework. And then once you're done with homework, it's closed and it's put away somewhere else. You never want to have the devices in your child's room behind closed doors, because don't even get me started on the addiction to porn.
Well, it's one of my notes, but I won't. I mean, we could.
We can go there if you want.
I have big worries about that. Yeah, I have big worries about that.
It's really sad. So, screen-free Monday through Thursday. Simple rules for the family, like screens are in common areas.
Yeah.
Right? We don't take it behind a closed door. You can have your computer. If my 6th grader does his homework in his room, but if he's on his computer, his bedroom door has to be open. That's just our rule. Things like iPads. Okay. Parents think, oh, my kid had a hard day. They're tired. They've been really busy. They had a big practice. They need some downtime. So I'm going to give them their iPad. iPads, screens, interactive screens are not downtime. They're actually hyper-arousing.
That's really important.
They're not resting your child's brain. So again, if you want to do screen time, because screen time's not all bad. We make exceptions even during the school week, Monday through Thursday. When there's NFL Monday Night Football.
Oh, yeah.
We're watching it, right? Like, that's very different. Coming together as a family, watching something, or a favorite show. I had one 8th grade mom, after I gave a speech at the school, said, I came home from work. I was so tired. I'm sitting there at the kitchen counter on my phone going through emails. My son's on his phone. I don't know what he's going through. And I thought about your talk. She said, I didn't have energy to do anything active, like play a game outside.
Yeah.
He said, so I turned to him and I said, would you like to watch an episode of Young Sheldon with me? And she said her 8th grade son lit up. And he put his phone down. They both did. And they went and they sat on the couch together and they had a shared moment. That's distinct and different from being on separate devices. So again, we don't need to make screens all bad, but let's choose a screen that's not portable.
Okay.
And let's choose passive watching instead of interactive.
Got
That
it.
applies to YouTube.
Yeah.
So a lot of kids love YouTube. And listen, there's great information on YouTube. Your son learned about high yield savings accounts. Brilliant. My kids love Mark Rober. You know, he's a NASA scientist, right? And he teaches science and engineering. Great show. Here's something parents can do. Pick 1 to 3 YouTube channels max that they're allowed to watch without your permission during designated screen time.
Okay.
Don't let them just start going down the rabbit hole because some influencer, some attention engineer wearing his hoodie in his mom's basement in Silicon Valley.
Come on.
They're picking what's going to shape your kid's brain. So the parent has to be the one who leads that charge and says, these are the things you're allowed to watch. And don't let them watch shorts. So they can watch My Kids Like Dude Perfect. Is there a lot of beneficial value there? No, it's entertainment.
Yeah.
And it does still align with our family values, right? I mean, it's not despicable. Like the brain rot channels that are on YouTube. Have you heard that term?
Oh, yeah. Sure have.
Yeah, it was the Oxford Dictionary word of the year, brain rot.
Amazing.
So were channels like Skibbity Toilet. There's these frenetic, hyper-stimulating, idiotic YouTube channels that are highly addictive.
Yeah.
That you just want to say, we don't watch those in the house. So again, do you see, we're not doing an all or nothing.
Yeah.
You can still do this within these boundaries. These are the ones that are okay. These ones we're not doing. And here's the reasons why.
Yeah.
I love you too much. You're too precious.
Yeah.
I'm going to protect that brain because you were born with all these gifts and talents and you are separate and unique and different from me. I don't need you to grow up to be what I want you to be. I want you to grow up to be everything you were given at birth to become. Let's help you reach your fullest potential. So I'm kind of going on, but other things you can do, a phone basket. So when people come into the house, they put their phones in the basket.
I like that.
Instead of carrying them around. If you're expecting a phone call, turn it on.
Yeah.
Turn the ringer on. Remember when portable phones came out in the home? Like back in the 80s or 90s? When was that? But we didn't walk around the house with it in our hand, right?
Never.
It would ring.
And it was like 4 pounds. I mean, it's like a workout.
It was a brick phone. Yeah. No devices at mealtime.
Yeah. That's a big one.
That's a rule.
We
no
do
device
that.
at mealtime.
We've been doing that for years. That's a pet
Again,
peeve.
no devices in the bedroom. Turn everything off an hour before you go to bed.
Okay.
To protect sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Because not only are these devices hyperstimulating, but the blue light goes into the brain and it's affecting our melatonin levels.
Oh, God.
Something I do, you want to do a pause for play dates. When kids come over, say, hey guys, we're going to put our devices here in the basket and we're going to find other things to do in real life.
Yeah.
I like to put out games that my kids and their friends might play. They love What Do You Meme? Family Edition. Super funny. They like Cards Against Humanity. Family Edition. Also funny. I put out the poker set. We started playing Texas Hold'em as a family. I'd never played. My kids taught me. You put other things, put it out where they can see it, then they're more likely to do it. I like a tidy house.
Yeah.
It looks pretty.
It does.
But we're raising kids. We're not curating a museum. So let it be messy and put all that stuff out. And then they'll be drawn to the other things that they see.
Okay. Those are great examples. I made a list. This has been so helpful. Like just hearing the options too, because what I'm worried about is Bo loves YouTube shorts. And I think we talked about this on the hike. I didn't realize how detrimental just specifically YouTube shorts are. And I know you touched on that, but didn't you mention that?
Yes. Yeah. So the shorts are really damaging children's abilities to sustain attention.
Jeez.
So we talked about screens, but we also want to consider content.
Yeah.
And so even if it's passive watching, when we're picking content that we approve for our family to watch, you want it not only to align with your family values, but you want to look for things that have a beginning, a middle, and an end, right? A distinct storyline so that their brain learns to follow a storyline and keeps this attention even through boring moments, right?
Yeah.
And that's really important, whether you're showing up in the classroom or you're showing up at work. We need to be able to keep our attention. And shorts do not exercise that muscle. You know about muscle atrophy, use it or lose it. And we need to have things that keep our attention. So beginning, middle, end, educational, family values, something slower paced. For young kids, think Daniel Tiger versus SpongeBob SquarePants.
Oh, yeah.
And you understand what I'm talking about, right?
Oh, yeah.
SpongeBob SquarePants, frenetic, hyper-arousing, is going to get your kid all overstimulated. Daniel Tiger, pro-social cues. The world is a good place.
Yeah.
Excellent values. You feel better after you watch it.
Yeah.
And we want to use that as our guide as parents when we're picking which content they can and cannot watch.
Okay. This is
If
good.
you want a healthy, quick, easy tech guide, there's more than what I mentioned here. If you go to my website, you put it in your email address and it will send you a link for a 4-page simple set of suggestions that your family can follow that you could use to, hey kids, here's an idea.
This is perfect.
Let's create our own. So it's free for anyone listening. If they want to go to successfulparent.com, they can download that.
Okay. Successfulparent.com. Everybody, you can pause this, go do it, and then come right back. That's fabulous. I was just going to ask if this was written anywhere because my old eyes need to see it. Printing it out, even better. I'm so here for
Even
that.
better.
Even better.
Put it on the refrigerator as a reminder. And again, what I tell my kids, progress, not perfection.
Yeah.
Going back to what we started with, let's all give ourselves a little grace.
We have to.
A little compassion.
Yeah.
Nobody's perfect. And we'll get busy and times get stressful and we think, oh, I just need my kids preoccupied.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, they've gone over the limited video games, but I need to do this. Okay, that's going to happen on occasion.
Yeah.
Don't beat yourself up.
Yeah.
It's like meditation. You're sitting quietly, you're focusing on your breath, and then the mind goes.
Oh, yeah. Without fail.
And then all you do is bring it back.
That's right.
And the same thing goes for our household. We have our game plan, and then life goes all over the place. And then we just bring it back, right?
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I didn't tell you about this part, but toward the end, I like to rapid fire ask questions of my guests. And they're the same 5 words, but I basically ask my guests to give me the first thing that comes to mind or a story or an anecdote or parlay it into something that you've already shared. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Yes. See, that's the proper clinical. Yeah. Okay. You ready? Happy.
Happy. I was going to say me.
I love it.
I'm genuinely happy to be here with you and sharing this information. I have so much respect and admiration for parents. I think it's the most important job on the planet. How we raise our kids is what our world becomes. And I think one of the lowest hanging fruits as a parent to make positive impact on our kids is removing limiting screen time and increasing in-person real life experiences.
This is good.
It makes us all feel happy.
Yes.
The family will be happier for it.
Right. And God, couldn't we use that? Okay. Healthy is the next word.
Healthy, tech-free home, not tech-free entirely.
Right.
But I can tell you, so when you said, tell a story, in my private practice, I've had families come to me, parents crying at their wits' end, exasperated. Their household does not look like what they imagined it would be when they had children. Arguing, screaming, kids, they're not able to follow through on tasks. And one of the things we do is a family digital detox. And then we start to implement just healthy boundaries around tech. So we don't get rid of all of them, just healthy boundaries. And their kids don't just get a little bit better. They do a dang near 180. All the behavior problems go away.
Whoa.
I know it seems like, how is this possible? But I first started doing this with families back in 2013, 2014. And we didn't touch on acquired ADHD, but your child doesn't have real ADHD nor are they on the spectrum of autism, because there's a factor of that too. If after a 4-week detox of removing screens, the symptoms go away, because we're seeing that today. And doctors are quick to put kids on medication, but really, just like reducing sugar helps, if we limit screen time or remove these devices, their symptoms go away as well. And that is healthy.
That is healthy. I'm going to agree with you 110%. Oh my gosh. That is a crazy statistic. Like 4 weeks it takes to detox. That makes sense. It's like with anything else that you build a habit, you build new neural pathways in that time.
That's right.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Third word is wealthy.
Wealthy has nothing to do with money in the bank. Right?
Never
We
does.
are wealthy when we have our health.
Yeah.
When we have meaningful relationships.
Yeah.
Interesting things that fill our life with passion and meaning. That's real wealth and fulfillment.
So good. Okay.
Raising
Fourth
our
word.
kids well.
Oh yeah. Well,
yeah. That's how we become successful. My successful parent, right? That's success.
Yeah.
Being able to, you're never going to regret not giving your kid more screen time.
Girl, that's another tagline.
But if you sit back and you look at your kids and you see them thriving, that's the greatest wealth.
So true. I mean, there's nothing. I love watching Bo play sports because I can just see him like light up and get fired up. And I was just explaining this to a girlfriend recently, but they went to the Pop Warner Super Bowl this past December.
So fun.
So fun. But watching these kids play at that level, and we were there, God bless us. We were there for like 8 days in the DoubleTree Hotel. And there
bless you parents.
Oh my God. During December, mind you, with like 2 weeks notice. It was amazing. It was amazing on all fronts. The most amazing part was they did not have a lot of screen time. And so these boys that were already 11 and 12, athletic already, but teammates were like in the pool, in the gym, which was illegal. So I don't know how that was not ideal. They would go from room to room. They were playing like, what was that called? Ding Dong Ditch. I know that.
Yes. Yeah.
They were just doing
all the things kids do.
All the things kids do. And every now and then they would be found in like one room looking at a screen. But even then they weren't, it almost had no effect on them. Correct. Because they had so many other options of things to do in that space. It was really unique. It was very cool to see. Gotta say.
It's exactly what childhood should be. I don't know how we're doing on time. Let me share this really quick.
Yeah.
There's I think it's a 60-minute episode, and they showed triplets. I think they were around age 11 or 12. And one of them was addicted to video games, and they did MRI brain scans of the triplets. So they have similar genetics, right?
Oh yeah.
The brother and sister who are not addicted to screens, their brains lit up, showing activity like it should be. The kid who was addicted to screens, his brain was dark. It was not lit up. But to your point, that 8 days on without screens, the kids lit up.
Yeah.
This same boy went to a 3-week sleepaway camp without screens. Then they did an MRI brain scan. His brain was lit up like a Christmas tree, more so than the images of his siblings.
Whoa.
Prior to him going away to camp. This is powerful stuff. That's why I'm saying this is low-hanging fruit for parents.
Yes.
Let's pick this off and let's flourish.
Oh my God, I love it. Oh my God, I love it. Okay, two more words. Okay, fourth word, wise or wisdom.
Wisdom, what we need to impart on our children.
I know.
Right? We do. And every parent has wisdom to offer. We get so caught up in the busyness. As I say, parenting isn't easy. I'll shift that a little bit. Parenting isn't inherently hard. it's challenging to parent while trying to accomplish other things.
She said it. Yep.
So if we parents can just set time in our day where we say the emails that are coming into our phone and the deadlines that we have, I'm going to put those on pause for this time frame.
Yeah.
And just be present with my kids. You don't need someone with a PhD to share wisdom with you. You have it. Every parent has it.
Yeah.
And that's part of our job.
You like that so much. Okay. Last word.
Like your book. Can I tell you, I love your book. My kids loved that book. That's wisdom. That's parenting wisdom. Remind me the name, the yolk.
Yoked.
Yoked.
Like yoked. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We bought it on Amazon, read it to my kids. They love it because we love to dance. That's good parenting wisdom.
It's freeing. Oh, that's the next word. Free.
Free. what we can all be and what we all strive for, right? Like returning to what those kids were doing, running through the hotel room, ding dong ditch, going into the pool, free to just be ourselves and play.
Yeah.
Kids nowadays have almost no unsupervised time unless they're on a screen or online.
Ugh.
Let's shift that. Let's stop the helicopter parenting. Tell our kids to go out in the world, make dumb mistakes, but be free to experience life, to develop their own wisdom, to grow those neurons that can only be built through trial and error and real world, real life experience.
Yeah.
Screens can't touch that.
Ooh. Okay. Well, there's just 100 mic drop moments in this conversation. And I don't know how I'm going to title this because we have so many things to, this was so powerful and helpful. Can you please, my friend, tell everybody where they can find you, where they can gather their, what was the list called? Did you have a name for it?
I do. And I'm drawing a blank on it right now. I'm looking at my computer to see if I can pull it up, but my mouse isn't working. It's Healthy Tech Boundaries for families.
There we go.
Healthy Tech Boundaries. Because it's not all or nothing.
Right.
We've got to learn to live in this digital world.
That's another very good and important takeaway note there. We have to learn to live in this world. So that's important to reference as well. So we can find you at successfulparent.com.
Yes, successfulparent.com. I also have a Substack.
Yes, I just subscribed
Successful
to it.
Parent.
Thank you.
I just started it. So as a psychologist, I closed my practice a number of years ago and I took a break to just focus on being a mom. So now I am kickstarting back into this field a little different. I'm choosing parent coaching over clinical psychology because I found in my private practice, most of the time, there wasn't anything pathological going on in these families. They just needed help and guidance. So let's take the shame or the stigma out of going to a psychologist. We all need a coach, your personal trainer. That's what I want to be for parents, successfulparent.com. And I am screen free. I closed my personal Instagram account 9 months ago when I read The Anxious Generation. Not that I wasn't a big user. Love that book. Mm-hmm. But when I read that the tech companies knew what they were doing to our children and they were exploiting them for profit, I said, I got to get off.
Yep.
So I'm not big on social media, but it's a way to spread information. So I just started an Instagram account, successful_parent. So they can go
tell
there.
Me that. So now I got to go follow you.
I'll be doing, when I say I just started it, I'm talking days ago because I went to lunch with a friend who told me about a family she knows struggling in response to these wildfires, not sure how to talk to their kids. And I'm like, let me just hop on and do a quick video. So that's another place that they can find me. And I will also share, I am an ambassador for Screen Strong. This is an organization that sets out to help remove the toxic screens from families, build healthy families. And I recommend everybody go to that organization as well, screenstrong.org. It's a nonprofit, and there's a wealth of resources there to help parents as they begin to make these shifts from willy-nilly, grab your screen whenever you want, to You need to ask before you get it. And let's pay attention to the content and all the stuff we talked about today.
This is rad. You're exceptional.
I love you.
I love you too. I'm so happy and grateful to know you and to have you in my circle. And I can't just, she did not ask me to say this, but if you have the opportunity and the luxury to work with her, I would jump at that opportunity, because I have seen you in real life settings, just in conversation over dinners, and hearing the way you truly love what you do. You love to see parents thrive. It is the perfect career for you. You are on your God-given purpose, and I think you're fabulous.
Thank you. So are you. And so is every parent out there.
Yeah.
Parents, you can do this. You can make these changes, and you will see the fruits in your household. It'll be happier. It'll be calmer. Your kids will be more creative. Boredom is a good thing.
Yeah.
That's how they build their brains. Let's not fill every moment with a screen, and we'll all be okay.
You hear that? You're going to be okay, y'all. Thank you for listening. I love you.